everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to be going over my Thursday NBA picks starting at 1 p.m. today. So let's get started. Always appreciate it. Hit the like on the video and subscribe if you have not already. See if we can get 200 likes on the video. Yesterday picks did well, especially Royce O'Neal went nuts at only 3,700, and then the other guys that I paid up for did well. Nobody really broke the slate yesterday. I think the highest score might have been like 50 something. So worked out really good. So let's get right into it. See if we can do it again today. So starting off at point guards today, have James Harden at 11-7. This slate has so much more studs than yesterday's slate. Harden had a bit of a disappointing game, and I will definitely say disappointing, even though they crushed OKC. But 34 minutes was a bit low. Maybe that was because foul trouble. Maybe it was because the game wasn't super competitive. But if this game is like within a couple points or within 10 points, you should be playing like 38 minutes at least. Only had 3 assists as well, which was really low. So the Thunder are pretty good defensively. They can kind of take the ball out of Harden's hand if they want to, like try to double team him. But Harden can definitely like figure some of that stuff out. And I still expect him to have like a monster game sometime this series without Russell Westbrook, and it's only the second game. I mean, I think he figured some stuff out after the first game. Still was very good at shooting. He hasn't lost his shooting stroke. 6 of 13 from three. Only took 22 shots too, and also didn't have any blocks or steals. And this is a guy coming in that's averaging 2 steals per game and 1 block per game. So I think that was a bit more of a floor game from Harden. We could definitely see a bit more of an explosive game, and that was also when some of the other role players also were very hot from the floor, like Gordon and Jeff Green. Lillard at 11,000, I'd still, if he's only within $700 of Harden, I'm still going with Harden every time. Both have tough matchups, like Lakers are good defensively. They didn't really show that in game one, but Lillard was still, he was great. But it's still going to be tough for him to get like all these peripherals and rebounds against these big Lakers centers and power forwards and assists. You can definitely get more assists, but I think he's normally going to be around 50, 60 fantasy points, and by 11K, if I'm paying for anybody, it will be for Harden. And then you have Chris Paul. It's a bit expensive at 8,000. Harden, I mean, he was on Harden for times during the game. Slowed him down. Almost had a triple double. So if you're really feeling Chris Paul, you can. I'm not really on him. I think the 10 rebounds were a bit more of an outlier compared to what he's been doing all year. And he also like the Thunder are now all healthy with Schroeder, who had a really bad game. Because Schroeder or SGA also had a bad game, stepping up and taking some away from Paul. But I'm not that comfortable with paying 8,000 for Chris Paul. LeBron James monster triple double. He's 10-9, played 41 minutes, so played 7 more minutes than Harden, but they needed him to. Wasn't very efficient, 9 of 20. I mean that's decent, but if you want to go to LeBron James, no complaints. But I will go to Harden today. Maybe some people don't go to Harden because he was disappointing at least a little bit in the first game. Then you have like SGA super cheap at 63. He's just been awful, so I can't really recommend him or go to him with any confidence. He's been awful during the bubble. He's been awful in that first game. Just took 8 shots, only made 2 of them. His shooting numbers have gone down drastically, and the production has also gone down. Like less assists. Now the shooter is back, less rebounds. So if I'm paying for anybody at point guard or going with anybody, it's going to be for Goran Dragic once again, who is 5,900. He played great in that game one, took 19 shots, played 34 minutes, did a bit of everything, 44 or 42 fantasy points. Price tag went up by 1,500, but this is like kind of where it should be. Below 6K, you're still getting a decent value on him. Kendrick Nunn played 0 minutes, so he looks like he's out of the rotation for now. So Dragic should get all the point guard minutes. And then Tyler Hero, I think, played some backup point, which was nice. Dragic 59, I think he can still pay up that salary once again. Dennis Schroeder will be like a tournament play, 5,500, 3 of 12, but he played 32 minutes. Usually when they're like all of Schroeder, SGA, and Chris Paul all healthy, they kind of all have decent games, or either one has good games and the other kind of struggles. So you're gonna kind of have to pick and choose who you want to go with. I don't think I will have any confidence going with SGA. Maybe I'll take a shot on Schroeder. Fultz is only 45. That looks decent, especially if Gordon is out again. I think I might go Augustine over Fultz, though. Augustine just had the ball in his hands a lot more at closing that game out 3 of 11 from the field, so definitely could have had closer to 40 fantasy points. He's pretty good at getting assists. 11 assists that game. And if he has a ball in his hands, him and Vucevic have a nice two-man game as well. And if coming off the bench, he will kind of avoid Bledsoe a little bit and probably get a lot more minutes against like George Hill, who's a much worse defender. Speaking of Hill, you could go to him at 4K. 28 minutes or 27 minutes. We know the Bucks like to play like 12 guys even in the playoffs, so Hill's still going to get his minutes. He played almost the same minutes as Bledsoe, and you're saving like a bunch of You're saving at least like I think over $1,300. Yeah, $1,300 savings from Bledsoe to George Hill. Bledsoe played like 27 minutes too, so played the same. Played maybe one more minute, and Hill can outscore Bledsoe, especially coming off the bench. So point guard wise, looking at Dragic a lot, I like Augustine as a cheap play, and then Harden obviously. Moving on to shooting guard, it's James Harden show. I love Butler as well at 7,900. Butler only had 4 combined assists and rebounds, but we know with Jimmy Butler, what you're getting is a tenacious mentality. Defensively, he had 6 stocks, so he helped him get 48 fantasy points. Also had like 2 threes to close out the game. So I love Butler again. Price tag is nice. And we know he's gonna get a lot of minutes. Under 8K, you're still getting a good price point on Butler. I would go Butler over CJ McCollum. If Oladipo is in, you could look his way. But if he's in, then I think that's just going to take away from some of the other guys. Like it's going to take away some production from Malcolm Brogdon and definitely some from TJ Warren. So if he's in, then I don't know who I will go with. Maybe I'll just avoid all the Pacers. Fournier was absolute garbage in the first 3 quarters. He came alive in the fourth. At least had 3 threes in the fourth quarter. If Gordon is out, you could definitely go back to Fournier because people are going to be scared off of him, and he's like just had a bad game. Just couldn't find the bottom of the net in the first 3 quarters. Then you have Terrence Ross and Gordon. I like Gordon a little bit more. I think just a little bit safer. The minutes should be there, especially if Aaron Gordon does happen to return. Then it's kind of it at this position. Nobody that really jumps off the page as a cheap option. So going with Harden, 11-7. Expensive, but I'm expecting like a big fantasy point game out of Harden. Definitely way more than 3 assists. Like I think he can get more than 3 assists in the first quarter today. Small forward, LeBron, top option. Butler, I like a lot. I like Butler over Warren. Assuming Oladipo's in, I like Carmelo. Looks fine just because he's getting the minutes. There's no way he doesn't play like huge minutes without Collins. They have no size really, besides Nurkic and Whiteside. So at the 4, there's like no size, but no size besides Gabriel. They did play Whiteside and Nurkic alongside each other, but Anthony's gonna get minutes, especially if Gary Trent continues to hit the side of the backboard every time he shoots a 3. Anthony's also been struggling shooting. If he has just one decent shooting game, then he's gonna have a big game. Like he's gonna shoot double-digit times. He's gonna get you some rebounds, and he's actually been wheeling passer. So Anthony 5,900. It's just a decent price point at a guy that's gonna play like 38 minutes and has been a bit more productive than people like to make him out to be. Then you have Gordon. 49 is fine, and then the position kind of dies off a bit. Jake Crowder is questionable. If he's out, then maybe you get more minutes for Iguodala, but we'll see what the status is. At this position, I'm going with Jimmy Butler. Moving on to power forward, we have Giannis at 11-3. Bucks are definitely going to win this game. I do not see them going down 2-0. I do not see Giannis letting his team go down 2-0. I think Giannis will take over if he needs to. He shot 7 threes, which was a lot more than he probably should shoot, but I made 3 of them, so I can't really complain with that. Got to work on his free throws, and it's just if Aaron Gordon is back, then it's still gonna make it a bit more like competitive, and Giannis can just go off, and I think he's gonna really kind of after getting embarrassed in the first game, he's gonna put the team on his back. So 11-3, no problem if you want to go with him instead of Harden or try to fit both of them in, but Draftkings has kind of made it so there's not a ton of value plays that stick out. Like there's Gary Clark down here that could pay off. There is Ennis, but those are kind of contingent on Aaron Gordon sitting again. But the guy that I like a lot at power forward is going to be Carmelo Anthony at 59. I just think he has like that high 30s, low 40-point ceiling. Has a floor in the 20s, so it's not great, but it's not terrible. The minutes are there. It's a spot where he matches up against his friend and LeBron James, so they kind of go back and forth. They defended each other a couple possessions in the game one, and Anthony's just going to be on the floor, so he's going to run into some peripherals like rebounding, especially, and assists. At center, you have Bam Adebayo at 75. I think he looks fine. Vucevic at 88. He was amazing. Like, tip your hat to Vucevic. His shooting was on point. His threes were wet, and gonna play huge minutes. If Gordon is back, then that's gonna take a little bit of production away from Vucevic, but still, like he is their best chance of keeping this game close and even winning this game if they happen to win again, which I don't think so. But the guy that I'm going with at center is going to be Steven Adams, who's only 5,600. Like great price tag on Adams. Price tag went down. Like he's 6,400, and he put up 36 fantasy points. Looked great. Played 28 minutes, which could have probably played like 30, but the game was over at the end. I think he lost the 2 minutes at the end. But 28, 30 minutes of what you're going to get because they have Nerlens Noel backing him up. But he's very productive on the season, averaging well over a fantasy point per minute. And just not sure where the price tag went down on him after a very good game. So he looks good. The Rockets have no size, so he should play a lot. I mean, when he's out there on the court, he should be able to get whatever rebounds, get some offensive rebounds, putbacks, and also had no blocks or steals, which usually you can kind of count on centers to get at least a couple. And last but not least, another guy whose price tag went down in that game is Jeff Green's, who's down to 4,800. I think he looks like a pretty good value play. He's going to get the minutes just because there's no Russell Westbrook, and he's actually been playing great basketball. Off the bench, he put up 22 real-life points, and Robert Covington has been awful at shooting the basketball. 1 of 6, 1 of 5 from 3, 1 of 4 in the game before that, 3 of 8, 2 of 9. He just can't shoot right now, so if he struggles again and Green goes off like he's been, then he's just going to take some more minutes from Covington. He can also take minutes away from Daniel House. So Jeff Green's gonna get the minutes. They ran an 8-man rotation in game one. So you're getting starter minutes for a guy coming off the bench whose price tag went down. So those are the 6 plays that I like for DraftKings. Let's move it over to Fanduel. Okay, on the Fanduel side, starting off at point guard, it's Damian Lillard, 10K. Then Chris Paul's 8,200. I mean, Lillard is a top option to spend up for. Then you have Dragic, I like a lot at 6,200. Could go with Eric Bledsoe if you want, down at 59. But definitely like Dragic a lot more than Bledsoe. The minutes are going to be more. He's going to have a little bit more usage and the ball in his hands a lot more. Then you have Fultz, decent. I think Augustine, if Gordon is out, I'd go Augustine over Fultz on FanDuel. Then you have George Hill, also looks fine as a only $4,200 cheap play. And then if Victor Oladipo happens to miss, then you could look at Aaron Holiday or Edmund Sumner as 2 cheap options. But the guy that I like the most is the Dragon, Goran Dragic. At shooting guard, it's the James Harden show. He's 11.8, so almost like $3,700 more expensive than Butler. So if you do the math on that, then he needs about 22 fantasy points more than Jimmy Butler to pay off that salary in terms of point per dollar wise. I think it's definitely doable for Harden if he goes for 80 and Butler goes for like high 50s or low 50s. Both are the top options for me. Both, especially Jimmy Butler on FanDuel, getting those defensive stats, blocks and steals. He's super aggressive, especially now that he's guarding TJ Warren in the rivalry that they have started. So both of them look really solid. You have SGA at 66, decent, but I'm not going there. Have Victor Oladipo if he's in. He's only 5,600. He could be a nice cheap option. Then you have Shooter and Tyler Hero played good minutes off the bench. Played 33 minutes, which was awesome to see. And if Jay Crowder is out, then he's going to get more minutes as well. So he looks like a decent cheap option. And Gary Trent just can't go back to him after how awful he looked shooting. But I guess if you wanted to, you could. But I'm going with James Harden. I think I'm expecting a big time game from Harden in game 2. Not that he wasn't great in game 1, but all around, I think you'll have a better game. The team won, so that's all that matters. But if this game is closer, you should see more minutes. And Definitely got way more than 3 assists and no blocks or steals also in game 1. Small forward, you have 2 big-time spend-ups in Giannis and LeBron. With them being so separated by $800, I think LeBron, I'd go to him over Giannis. Then you have Carmelo is nice at only 5,500. You have TJ Warren if you wanted to go with him if Oladipo's out, he's 77. And then some of the cheaper options are Eric Gordon at 49. There's James Ennis if Aaron Gordon is out. And that's pretty much it at the position. I guess you could go Fournier, but I like Carmelo today at 55. Power forward, we have Davis, who was really bad shooting. 8 of 24 for Davis. Started the game like 1 and 9. So he ended up getting it, like having a decent fantasy game because he was able to get to the free throw line a bunch, but he still is the best spend up at power forward. Then you have Bam Adebayo. I think he looks fine as well. He's $2,400 cheaper than Davis. He played good minutes in that game 1. Also wasn't super close, but actually that game was close. Played 34 minutes. I mean, you're probably going to get like 35 minutes out of him, like 35, 36 usually. Maybe he was in foul trouble in that game 1. I do not know, but 34 is not bad for Bam. Can definitely pay that off. And then we have, not going to Covington, he just can't shoot right now. Jeff Green, I think, looks really good at 5,100. The minutes should be there. He's been productive. He can even close the game. He would probably even close if he's shooting and playing that well like he did in the first game. So I think I'll probably go with Jeff Green once again. And then at center, it's got some cheaper options today. So center, you could go with Nurkic if you want. He's 77. Seems like this always happens with Nurkic. If you have been following him, he always has like a great first half. Like in that first half against the Lakers, he had 30 fantasy points. And then he always gets tired and always has a bad second half. That happened against Memphis, even though he was great, but I think he had like almost 40, 45 fantasy points at halftime. But yeah, against the Lakers, he was killing it, and then he just kind of slowed down. You have Steven Adams, I like. 59 looks pretty solid. Whiteside got the job done in the fourth with all the blocks that he got. He had like 5 blocks total. Most of them came in the fourth. And then Vucevic at 83, he looks decent as well. But I do like Adams here at 59. I think he can have like a floor of about 30 fantasy points, upside in the 40s. Probably will. I mean, if he gets any blocks or steals on Fanduel, I mean, if he had like one of each, that's 40 fantasy points in that first game. Gonna get the rebounds against this Rockets team. They just can't really stop him on the glass. And in the playoffs, if you're playing better, you might even see a couple more minutes than he's been averaging during the regular season. So that's it for the video. Thank you for watching. Hopefully, guys enjoyed, and good luck today.